Welcome to EV Morning. You grab yourself a coffee. We'll bring you the latest EV news. And remember, if you like this channel, subscribe so you never miss a future show. Hello, my name is Martyn Lee. Let's take a look at 3 new cars for the spring of 2021. And first of all, the 2021 Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo just debuted. Porsche has launched the all-new Cross Turismo version of the Taycan and added the second version to its all-electric performance car. The Cross Turismo is a wagon or sportback, and it's more practical with extra space for luggage, and yet Porsche has worked hard to retain the characteristics of the original version. That means high performance on the road and on the track, with the latest and greatest EV technology under the skin too. This is a car designed for families or those with an active lifestyle who need the extra practicality at the rear of the car without sacrificing the ability of owning a Porsche. Well, there are 4 variants which will sound familiar to anyone who's been following the original model. There's the Taycan 4 Cross Turismo, the 4S, the Turbo and the Turbo S. All Cross Turismos are going to come standard with dual motor, all-wheel drive, 2-speed of course, and Porsche's adaptive suspension management in conjunction with air suspension, a big battery, 94.3 kilowatt hours. They call it the Performance Plus battery, and of course its 800 volt battery architecture. It's got adaptive aero, panoramic glass on the roof, and Porsche's communication management infotainment system. Could we say Porsche has left everything the same from the axle down and the rear seats forward? Well, that wouldn't be too far off the truth of what's happened here. The excellent powertrain stays the same, and all the versions get the bigger battery. We wonder if every Taycan buyer was already ticking that option already to go to the big battery, so with the Cross Turismo, maybe Porsche decided to make it standard. The same goes for all-wheel drive. The 800 volt system means you'll be charging up from 5% to 80% in only 22.5 minutes on a DC fast charger, capable of delivering the power required. Here in Europe, the cars are going to have either an aluminium roof or a panoramic glass roof. Our friends in the US only get the glass option as standard, the lighter metal version not available. However, one reason you might want the glass roof is because apart from that stunning vista, particularly for the rear passengers to look upwards, it's the only way Porsche will fit roof rails. Now this car is looking like it could be used with a roof box as well if you're doing some long distance travelling, and for that you will need the glass roof because the metal aluminium roof won't be able to support the box. What about the ride height? Well, it's a little different to the Taycan, so we'll explain. In normal driving conditions, the Cross Turismo sits 20mm higher than its sister car, the Taycan. But you can lower that, select Range Mode or Sport Plus mode, and it'll come down to the regular height. And unique to this Taycan, the Cross Turismo, is Gravel Mode. This raises the suspension by a further 10mm for extra ground clearance, although Porsche were keen to stress, this doesn't make the Cross Turismo an off-roader or even a soft-roader. And finally, they've included Lift Mode, which you can activate only at very low speeds, but it will raise the vehicle even further for those obstacles you might find in the urban jungle, like aggressive speed bumps, which aren't Porsche friendly. Headroom is a big winner in this car, with more for both front and rear passengers by up to 92mm or 3.6 inches in the rear. Now, in Germany, the car will start at €93,635 in the UK, £79,000 for the Taycan 4 Cross Turismo. 0 to 62 miles an hour, or 0 to 100 k's, is 5.1 seconds, 130 miles an hour top speed, and in the US, that price is about $91,000. US pricing has only announced pricing for this base model though. What do you think? We'd love to know from you on your impressions of the Cross Turismo. Let's move on. Our next car we're talking about is the new Volvo C40 Recharge. Our second new car launch on today's podcast is another Volvo, and if you thought I'd missed a letter, I didn't. This isn't the XC40, this is the C40, a car which, in many ways, is incredibly similar to its SUV big brother, the XC40. In fact, we'd say everything from the waistline downwards is probably identical. But it's towards the rear of the car that we see the differences. The roofline is what you'll notice immediately. It's a coupe-like version of the SUV. Perhaps a good comparison is the Audi e-tron versus the e-tron Sportback. We speculate both cars are being offered to their respective buyers because they prefer the visual aesthetic over outright practicality. There's no doubt the sloping rear roofline will lose you some luggage space, a little rear headroom as well, but the shape is more appealing to those buyers who don't want an SUV box. As for the specs, well, we've told you on this show before about the Polestar 2 and the XC40 Recharge. They're exactly the same. 78 kilowatt hour battery pack, 0 to 62 miles an hour, that's 0 to 100 Ks, in just 4.9 seconds. Remember, this is a 2.2 ton car using all of its 402 horsepower, which is on tap. Front passengers in the new C40 actually get more headroom too. You get 80% charge in this car in 40 minutes on a 150 kilowatt fast charger. The range, 260 miles on the WLTP way of measuring it, and over-the-air updates will continually improve it. We love the completely animal-free interior, and we love the Android-based operating system. And it's worth saying this model is the first Volvo model in history designed as a pure electric car. Of course, the XC40 also available as the Recharge plug-in hybrid too. This is the latest model in Volvo's ambitious plan to be all-electric by 2030, and the first of several all-new electric models launching over the coming years. Production for this starts in the autumn of 2020 in Ghent. And finally, the Hyundai IONIQ 5, known previously as the Concept 45. We've now seen the Hyundai IONIQ 5 in production form, and we must say the differences to the concept car are quite hard to find. And that's a good thing. Gone are the armchair seats and deep pile carpet, but the exterior is largely unchanged, including those pixel LED lights at the front and the rear, and the cameras for door mirrors. The interior has remained minimalistic, and the seats do recline to give the impression of being in an armchair. The rear seats recline too. The car is longer than something like a VW ID4, and about the same length as a Tesla Model 3, so this is a large car, perhaps larger than you might assume judging from the pictures and the dimensions. The 20-inch wheels create an effect, at least in photo form, of making this look like a smaller hatchback car. Hyundai say this has the largest wheelbase of any EV, longer than a Tesla Model S at 3 meters or 118 inches. That gives plenty of room inside the cabin for passenger space. This is the first car built on a new platform from Hyundai called EGMP, and this will underpin their future EVs, from not only IONIQ, the new brand name for all of their electric cars, but also Kia and Genesis too. Tech specs, well, there'll be rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. 72.6 kilowatt-hour battery will do 292 miles or 470 kilometers. And the 800-volt architecture will help charge extremely rapidly on a suitable charger. It'll go from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. I mean, that's barely long enough to stop and refuel yourself on a road trip whilst your car refuels. Unlike the Porsche we mentioned earlier, which needs an optional extra to make the most of older 400-volt chargers you'll find in many places around the world, this car will maximise the charge speed on any charger as standard. But that's not the real party piece here. Hyundai are proud of their integrated inverter, which allows the car to have 2 plug sockets, one on the outside where you plug in the main charger, and also one inside by the rear seats. These domestic household plugs can supply up to 3.6 kilowatts of power. That's more than enough for pretty much any domestic use. The real opportunities come when you're away from a plug socket, perhaps camping or working remotely, and you need to plug something in. The opportunities seem limited only by your imagination. So what do you think of the 3 cars we've talked about today? Would you buy one? And what are the features that you like the most? Well, let's keep this conversation going in the comments section below. We can't wait to read what you say. Give this video a thumbs up so we know you liked it, and we'll see you on the next one.